Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is William Flynn and I am a survivor of extreme childhood violence. I will be running for a seat in the New South Wales Senate at our next federal election because I believe that our wonderful Western civilization is being destroyed. So I'm here to stand up for Western values, Western civilization and our children's future. From 1945 till 1975, the Western world saw the greatest period of prosperity in human history and the greatest wealth equality in history. Since then, huge corporations have corrupted both sides of government right across the Western world. Social mobility has plummeted and working class wages have remained stagnant since the 1970s, while the rich have gotten richer and richer and richer. The top 1% of Australians now earn more wealth than the bottom 70% of Australians. And Australia's billionaires increased their wealth by 50% during the pandemic. Meanwhile, anti-corruption laws are watered down, whistleblowers are being prosecuted, working class families are being pursued by Centrelink, but corporate criminals escape prosecution. Our children's minds are being corrupted by deranged social activist school teachers who are teaching them to hate their country, hate Western civilization, and hate themselves. Schools and hospitals are banning the words mother and father. Women are being bullied simply for referring to themselves as mothers, and deranged gender-fluid nonsense is being taught to 3-year-old preschoolers without their parents' permission. Our freedom of speech is being destroyed. New surveillance laws are turning Australia into a police state, and the police may take over your social media accounts and jail you for 10 years if you refuse to assist. It has taken thousands of years to achieve our freedoms, and now they are being torn away. There is no one in power who understands where our civilization came from, how we got here, and how to create a great future. Both former Prime Ministers Bob Hawke and John Howard have said that there are too many politicians with no real life experience. 1/4 of our politicians are lawyers, and almost every single politician in Australia has gone to an elite school. But I have survived utterly sickening violence, and I am here to bring my life experience to our government so that we may save our country, save our civilization, and save our children's futures. When I was a child, I walked into Ryde Police Station, and I told Ryde Police that I had an extremely violent father, and that every single week he would hit me in the head, face and body with a shifting spanner, a lump of wood, or a length of cane, causing my head to be sticky with blood, my body to be covered in welts, and my mind to be catastrophically damaged. I told Ryde Police that every week he would threaten to kill us. He would threaten to turn us into quadriplegics. He would tell my younger sister she should have been drowned at birth. He would call us effing CUNTS's, and he would tell us he was going to blind us. I told Ryde Police that when we were driving on the freeway, he would threaten to drive us head-on into a semi-trailer. I told Ryde Police that every day as I walked home from school, I was afraid that I would find that my siblings had been murdered. I asked Ryde Police to protect myself and my siblings from my extremely violent father. Ryde Police refused to help. They telephoned my father and got him to come to the police station and pick me up and take me home. After this absolutely disgusting betrayal by Ryde Police, I knew that I had nobody on my side. No school teacher would ever believe me. No neighbor would ever believe me. So I spent my entire life reading encyclopedias non-stop, reading every possible book of history and science and philosophy and every other subject that I could possibly find. I thought if I could make myself intelligent enough, I could figure out a way out of this absolute horror that was my life. I wanted to understand our civilization, and I wanted to understand where we came from and how I could use that knowledge to change my life. Now I want to use what I have learned to save our civilization, save our children's future, and rebuild our wonderful country. Western civilization, based on so many ancient and modern cultures, gave us human rights, the Geneva Convention, extraordinary medical breakthroughs, and spaceflight. For over a century, people have fled from all over the world to live in the West. But ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful Western civilization is being destroyed. The days of fairness have long gone. The relentless deregulation, corporate bailouts, rezoning of land, government grants, prosecution of whistleblowers, limited tender procurement, lack of oversight, cronyism, nepotism, immunity from prosecution, the awarding of government contracts to political donors, the lowering of workplace safety standards, the raids on journalists, militarization of police, misuse of anti-terror units, and blatant corruption has assisted the wealthy and their government lackeys to steal and steal and steal. As a consequence, many people feel a sense of hopelessness about their future. The only solution to the blatant corruption and theft of our futures is for normal people to run for office. We must take back the free speech, freedom of association, liberty, equality, and prosperity that made the Western world the shining light of freedom and hope. Science and education made Western nations fabulously wealthy, free, and safe. Every civilization in human history has shown that when rates of education rise, social equality rises, and crime, addiction, and mental illness decline dramatically. Half a century ago, the silent generation landed on the moon, and thousands of technologies flowed from that incredible achievement. Over the last 50 years, we have seen a catastrophic decline in education, and today we rank 39th out of 41 OECD countries. Our schools and universities are hell-bent on destroying the traditional family and even on banning the words mother and father. But these deranged inner-city activists do not live in the real world, and now they're in positions of authority in our society, poisoning our children's minds. The catastrophic decline in education in Australia directly correlates with the rise in mental illness, crime, and violence. The only way to take back our lives, repair our children's mental health, and make our society more fair is to invest a gargantuan amount in education. We must also take our children away from the screens and reintroduce them to the outside world. We are not raising our children, the internet is. And it is causing mass depression, anxiety, suicide, violence, and the complete breakdown of our society. Since the 1970s, the catastrophic decline in wealth equality has directly correlated with the catastrophic decline of education. We must attract the finest school teachers in the world, and our rates of violence and mental illness will plummet. It will cost us $29 billion to double teachers' salaries, but we will save up to $200 billion per year, save thousands of people every year from lives of depression, violence, and addiction, and save many from suicide. In order to save our children's future, we must make school teaching the most prestigious profession in Australia. When our best and brightest students say, "I want to become a school teacher," then we will have succeeded. Australia's Southeast Asian neighbours went from extreme poverty to immense wealth because they valued education and they had a grand plan for their future. We have no grand plan, no grand ambition. Other countries lead, we merely follow. Other countries plan for centuries, we merely plan to win the next election. But I have a long-term plan. It begins with our children's education, and together we will drag this country into the future. For thousands of years, our ancestors aimed impossibly high and took immense risks to give us our glorious civilization. Helen Keller was blind and deaf, yet she said life is either a daring adventure or it is nothing at all. Let us take back our wonderful civilization from our thieving politicians and the deranged activists. Let us all understand the incredible sacrifices our ancestors made to get us here today. And let us give our children a wonderful future and a life of daring adventure. My name's William Flynn. Be sure to vote at the next election. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Cheerio. Australia's education standards have been